are going with a 6'4", 240-pound edge rusher out of Alabama. And when I say that, probably a lot of people think of Will Anderson because that's what he at least reportedly played at while he was at Alabama. But no, we're talking about Dallas Turner, who really could be maybe the less flashy version of Will Anderson. Listen, Anderson was a freak. He exploded onto the scene with that tremendous sophomore season where really he should have won the Heisman, right? Um, in a very similar way, Dallas Turner, as a freshman in his first season, 8.5 sacks, 30 total tackles. He had a fumble recovery in just a handful of games. This kid was so dominant in that first year that he played. Now, last year, a little bit of a sophomore slump, if you will. 37 total tackles, just 4 sacks. But this year, he gets to be edge one for Alabama. And there's a lot of people that are predicting that Dallas Turner is kind of the next great thing to come out of Alabama. I mean, shocker to hear that Nick Saban is just a pipeline to the NFL. He does it at all the positions, including edge rusher. And when you look at Dallas Turner, he's a light 240 in that he's extremely athletic. He's got decent bend, but he's also able to go right through you. I think a lot of people said that Will Anderson was more the finesse player, but when you turn on his tape, he shows plenty of power too. Dallas Turner brings that power as kind of that attribute one, that first thing that he's going to punch you in the mouth with. He's excellent in the run defense. He's very good at getting to the quarterback. And, there's, again, like what I was saying with some of the other guys that we've talked about, Bear Alexander at Georgia, there's a template now for how you build these guys, right? When you step on to that campus and you get to be the next X at that position, you can see the guys that have gone before you. You can see you've trained, you've worked out with the Will Andersons who've showed you what it takes to be the best edge rusher in college football. You've kind of printed a carbon copy of him, maybe a little bit bigger version of him in Dallas Turner. I know Will Anderson weighed in at, I think, 253 at the combine. That's a lot of that is maybe some extra muscle that he's put on, training down at Exos or whatever it is in Florida. He played at 6'3", 240 pounds at Alabama. So these guys are very, very similar. Kind of same song, different verse at this point with Alabama. They continue to have top-rated recruiting classes, and when you do, you're able to take advantage of guys like Dallas Turner, who, he's accumulated 12.5 sacks opposite Will Anderson, right? Playing that second fiddle. Now the spotlight is on him. He's going to be the guy that's the CBS Spotlight Player of the Week. He's the guy that Brad Nessler is calling out in pregame. I'm curious to see what he does. He had a little bit of a step back production-wise last season. I think 2023 could be his welcome to the spotlight moment. I think it's another big step towards him being a first-round draft prospect that a lot of people are already predicting, including us at the 3 Tech Pod, our partner at the transfer portal. We did some draft breakdowns a couple of weeks ago over there when the Panthers traded up to number 1. And one of those prospects that we broke down as far as who the Bears could be maybe looking at with all their first round picks next season was this guy, Dallas Turner out of Alabama.
Yeah, he really does just fit the mold that they have there in Tuscaloosa. And, shocker, Bama's going to have good defensive players once again. Breaking news, right? Nothing new under the sun, I guess. No, yeah, he's got everything you might want. It's funny that we all kind of pick these guys on the D line that are all pretty versatile, all pretty powerful. I'm really curious to see how all three of these guys stack up, since they're all coming from these SEC schools with a lot of previous success. And, a lot of these guys coming out of the mold of guys, like you were saying, Mitch, that you've already seen it done before. So we're kind of getting to see version, 2 or version 3 for a lot of these guys. I'm really curious to see how they all stack up through this next year and beyond as they go into their careers in the future. Because I think this could be as good, if not better, just in terms of the talent than the guys that we just saw go out, right? We talked about Bear Alexander. Bear might be a little bit better than Jalen by the time it's all said and done. He's got the tools to say, yeah, he might be better than Jalen. Dallas, he's got the tools to be a little bit better than Will Anderson, right? Mason Smith, he's got the tools to be a little better than a lot of guys you've seen on that LSU D line in the past. And so, I think that you could be saying this is a really interesting group to see come out. We obviously don't know. These guys could have, guys, they could hinder their development. They could, not quite live up to expectations. But I think these guys are really exciting to watch. And obviously, you're not going to find too much better play on the line of scrimmage than you do down in the SEC.
Yeah, and you talk about guys just being built in a lab. Dallas Turner is built in that lab, like you're talking about, Mitch, of being that next person to fill into that role. I'll be interested to see if he kind of makes some splash plays early on as teams test him, saying, "Oh, Will Anderson is not in that spot anymore. Maybe we can kind of attack this part of Alabama's defense that they're used to Will Anderson just taking care of." And maybe he gets to make some splash highlight plays to show what he can actually do early on. That could be something to watch. And that definitely, when we talk about spring breakout seasons, that early momentum, that early hype that he could get could really spring that towards a true breakout season.
Well, and listen, he's going to be put to the test right away. One of those teams that we're going to get to watch, kind of poke and prod and try and figure out, all right, how good are you? Texas Longhorns, week 2, September 9th. Alabama will host Texas. Outside of that, mid-Tennessee State, South Florida, kind of sandwiching the Longhorns before they get into, honestly, a pretty tricky schedule for Alabama. I don't know that I'm going to predict Alabama to run the gauntlet. 11-1 might be even tough to get, because then you've got Ole Miss at Miss State, at Texas A&M, versus Arkansas, versus Tennessee, versus LSU, before it chills out a little bit with Kentucky, Chattanooga, and Auburn. So a tough draw for the Crimson Tide. They're going to have to fight their way to the top. And I think coming off of a 10-2 season, even with a Sugar Bowl victory, where a lot of people felt like Alabama underperformed, Nick Saban is singing that tune in the locker room. This is going to be a ticked off Crimson Tide bunch, or at least you would expect it to be a ticked off Crimson Tide unit. And we'll get to see them put to the test right away, as I mentioned, with the Longhorns in week 2.
Gracious,